another version of Lucky Strike played by Mr. M. And we've got a few versions of that song now. I'm vk3sl. Welcome to the late night program. A little bit late starting because I was packing records onto shelves and trying to sort out the conundrum here of having too many records and not enough space, and this whole realignment thing is not as easy as it seems.
Have you got any sort of system?
Oh, look, very broad, Frank. I've got to sort of think a little bit more about how I do this. I have to try and make things sufficiently accessible so I can cycle, because what's happened is the walls are full of records in here, but there's equipment in front of the records.
Yeah.
So the problem is I've got to move equipment out to access them, and what tends to happen is the same a quarter of the collection just gets played over and over, and most of it just doesn't get access simply because it's packed in.
Yeah.
So I have to have a cycling system to enable things a little bit more. So
it gets played eventually.
yeah, I want to be able to play as much as possible and have as much variety.
Sure.
And so these new shelves, they're in place now and they're bolted to the wall. And I've done all that tonight, and I've didn't take much to populate them, I can tell you. They're now full, and I've only very broadly categorised things. And I don't mind it that way, because I think it's sort of quite helpful. It's nice to have a serendipitous sort of aspect to it.
Oh yeah.
And not be too genre specific, but yeah, it's finding at the same time I'd like to be able to find things.
That's the bottom line.
Yes, it is. But look, to be honest, the bottom line.
That's my bottom line. From
yeah, look, I understand. Yeah, look, I appreciate that. I think, in this instance, to be honest, the playing of records is. A lot of it's just theatre, because most of the material's on YouTube anyhow.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy that whole sort of physicality of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the serendipity, of course, is just that sort of randomness. So we'll try and keep that sort of system going. But I'm forever thinking of ways to cycle forth and keep things moving through, so that we get to access. Like there's half the wall of 20s records hasn't been even played since I've done the program, really.
Oh my God.
Because it's just it's got an enormous Collins receiver sitting on a big speaker sitting in front of it.
Yeah.
And it's just the equipment's so heavy that it's a problem in itself. But look, yeah, we'll get there. We'll make it work. Yeah. So did you have a listen to the ASV this evening?
It wasn't on.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it's unfortunate, really.
Oh, gosh, I hope Clint's all right.
Oh, yeah. He's probably gone to Heathcote or something.
Oh, he may well have done that, yes. Okay, I wonder if you're still casting on, doing the video casting as well.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, good.
Certainly.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it is.
I've got to get organised and start listening again. I've just been a bit distracted. Well, lately I haven't been able to do much at all, but yeah, it's... good to know that he's working on all frontiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much to do, so little time.
That's
Peter Sellers once said.
That's what he said. That's so true. Yeah, we need multiple concurrent lives so we can sort of do all the stuff that we feel
I don't know how
itch
you
for.
keep all the ball in the air, Steve.
Oh, I don't really. It's not really.
I had with 2 kids, it seemed like more than a full-time job.
Oh, well, I'm probably trading off in lots of places and lots of ways. And those who know me well realise that I do that. But look, it's important to be inspired and have a creative outlet and all those things.
Speaking of which, I went to a very interesting AI lecture over the week.
Oh, did you?
Last week, it was a summer school of U3A.
Oh, right. Tell me about it, Frank.
And it was given by a guy called Errol Muir, who's a professor of a subject related to AI.
Yes.
And he gave a wonderful presentation. I will send you a link with the presentation.
What were some of the takeaways, Frank?
Oh, just QRX, Steve.
Okay.
Little feedies here.
Yeah.
The big takeaway from me was where things are going.
Yeah. And
moving from what he called specific AI to general AI.
Yeah.
And confronting AI with problems of a type which they've never actually been trained to deal with.
Yeah.
And seeing how far they go and how well they can attack them.
How about that? Yeah, because they're sort of expecting it to show. Well, I think one aspect is hallucinations.
Yes, hallucinations.
And the other thing is that to sort of show emerging. I don't know. It's not sentience, but it's able to sort of make deductions and has a degree of reasoning.
So that's if it can do that to any degree,
yeah,
that's where the future lies, of course.
Yes, indeed.
And they're setting it exams in subjects it's never heard of,
yeah,
and things like that, and they're getting typically 75% success rate.
How about that? That's quite extraordinary.
Quite extraordinary.
It really is.
I think you'll be very interested to see these the PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, please send me a link. I'd be keen to hear it. And and do you talk about some of the existential risks and the concerns of the sort of longer term?
Not in detail. He mentioned that there were obvious risks, and he just touched on them.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a difficulty in that he planned to use the internet big time and demonstrate things.
Yes.
And it was down, unfortunately. So he was thrown back onto his own devices.
Yes.
And he worked from his own slides.
Okay.
But he wasn't able to do things, in the way that he had wished.
Yeah, fair enough, Frank.
But it was still most impressive.
Yeah. No, it'd be really, really interesting to hear. I'm just fascinated and terrified at the same time.
Yeah, so am I.
I just find that especially if these machines can replicate themselves so quickly and mobilise and also be, I don't know, in this era of fake news and so on, I think there's going to be a lot of subterfuge.
Where facts become, everything becomes a matter of opinion. It's just horrible.
It is, and just sort of echo chambers everywhere. There's no sort of lateral perspective anymore. It's all sort of, everyone just lives in his own little universe. And
I wonder what kids are going to have to cling on to.
Yeah, I know. What sort of reality? It's very disturbing.
We've got to give it. It's up to the parents.
Yeah, it is.
Grandparents, isn't
Absolutely. Well, my solution has been to have a big family, and where everybody can sort of look out for each other.
Yeah, you've done very well.
And that was the objective. That was one of our reasons for having a big family, was to sort of thinking, okay, these kids can all support each other, and it has actually, in that sense, it's been pretty good.
It seems to be, as an outsider, it seems to be.
I think it's to this point anyhow. It's there's quite a lot of, they're pretty close. And, we've had a lot of ups and downs, but I think there's been, people have shared the responsibility of helping with all of that.
That's right. Well, the best that we of the small family can do is to stick to those around us in terms of our cousins, etc.
Yes.
And make a small family sort of into a larger family.
Yeah, absolutely. And families, of course, can be communities and friendship groups and all manner of, close people. And... and just drawing, I don't know, support from all of that, I think is the only way, because otherwise it's so disparate. I think schools are trying to do a good job in offering perspective, or at least the schools where I work in.
Sure.
So I think there's education is trying to sort of deal with that, but I think in some other areas it just doesn't work.
No.
And then everyone just falls into their own little sort of, cyclic, redundant loop, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But it's absolutely horrifying what some of those algorithms the kids use, the TikToks and the Instagrams and things, how and the whole sort of culture of doom scrolling, where you just scroll. It's almost like a tick, or an itch or a compulsion.
Yeah.
And all it does is just feeds this anxiety and feeds this sort of nullifying thing. It's extraordinary. But I think it's my concern in the short term is that AI is only going to be used more to sort of facilitate that type of thing.
Yes.
And just because people can be so exploited for advertising, of course, and such.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a great doco on, and you probably still can see it on O28.
Yeah.
Called The Great Hack.
Oh.
And it was about a company called, wait a minute, it'll come to me, Cambridge it's Cambridge Analytica.
Oh, Cambridge Analytica, yes. Okay, I'm writing this down.
And they eventually got done for using information, collecting making profiles of people, and handing them on to those concerned with elections.
This happened a couple of years ago. I remember this. It was all in the news.
Was.
Yeah.
Well, this one guy decided that he would ask them, he would command them to give him the information they had on him.
Right.
And they refused.
I see.
And it all ended up in court.
Yes.
And it ended up in them getting virtually taken down.
Yes. I tell you what, without getting political, it's going to be some interesting challenges ahead for the US legal system, I think.
Extraordinarily.
It'd be very interesting to observe how the courts cope with the onslaught.
The lawyers will be proliferating, and they will all make a fortune if they're any good.
Yeah, I imagine.
Really bad, depending.
Yeah, well, this is it. But you wonder how sort of the higher courts can sort of manage they must be under enormous pressure.
They will be.
Yeah, and you know, how far can you stretch the Constitution?
Yeah, it's very interesting. The Constitution, it's incredible the level of interpretation and the stretching, the elasticity.
Yeah.
Even the Australian Constitution's been stretched to do one thing, and then 50 years later the exact opposite.
Is that right?
In certain aspects to do with trade. There's a section to do with trade and trade and intercourse.
Gosh.
Nothing to do with the other thing.
Yeah.
And it has been interpreted in ways over the history of Australia in quite one way and in quite the opposite way.
How about that?
Depending on all sorts of things.
Gosh, that's
similarly with taxation interpretation.
Yeah. Right. So what happens when there's a precedent? The precedent's nullified. I suppose the precedent from an earlier time is recognised but just overturned and then justified on another set of logic principles.
Another set of logic principles, or I think they can say, well, times have changed.
Yes.
Which is a sort of valid.
Yes.
I mean, there's no longer a justification for the original right to bear arms that the US has.
Yes, absolutely.
That arose out of early days when the US was, had been at war.
Yeah.
And there was arguably a genuine need for it.
Yes.
It's long since gone.
Yeah. And it's just been distorted out of all proportion.
Totally.
And become just a meme, it's part of enculturated.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, we'll be watching that space. Very interesting. I'd like to hear more about the AI.
I'll send it to you.
I listen to podcasts every week on that subject simply because of the prescience of it. And we're living in the middle of something which is probably bigger than the Industrial Revolution. And it's just happening in our midst. And it's happening so fast.
There was an announcement that the giants of AI, headed by Trump, are going to spend $500 billion in the foreseeable future on AI.
Yeah, it's staggering.
It's quite frightening.
Yeah, it is frightening, and obviously there's a real. I think they feel an urgency to develop the technology ahead of other countries.
China in particular.
I think so. I think that's a big part of it. But what worries me is he's cancelled all funding for AI alignment.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And then, I mean, that's probably the only hope we really had.
It is. It totally is.
If it can't be aligned to our principles and aligned longitudinally as well, I mean, in the sense that it's future-proof. Otherwise, see, if these things get more intelligent than us, we haven't got a hope. I mean, it's sort of patently obvious in a way. I mean, and it's exponential the way they'll grow. And I know people say, there's a kill switch, you can just turn off the servers. But if it's miles ahead of us, it'll probably have ways of sourcing code and developing its own survival instincts of one kind or another. I mean, I'm not suggesting it has a sentience like we do, but it probably it may find some sort of purpose of a kind.
It might find its own reason to exist.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And, it may not be conscious of the way we know it, but I've heard people like Geoffrey Hinton, who was one of the sort of the fathers of AI, is really cautioned. He's made a strong message about the dangers if it gets a lot more intelligent than we do. There's no way that because digital systems can replicate so quickly, and if they can write their own code.
There's no telling where it'll end.
No, it's no telling. I mean, and the potential to hack and to interfere with systems is terrifying too. I mean,
these things feed on knowledge, as you know.
Yeah.
And they will end up, certainly already they know way more than we know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They know far more than any one person could possibly know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a future perspective. I mean, I don't understand the full the vulnerabilities of the system, or how it actually does work in a real setting, but and how it's harnessed and so on. But it's just maybe it's a naive assumption, but it does concern me a lot for the next generation, and especially when you hear sort of big players in the field express their concerns.
Yeah, those who are at the centre of developing it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
Who would know better than they.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been some strong reactions.
Well, there's one guy resigned from a particular, I can't remember what.
Oh, the Google guy didn't he?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, he did. And I've heard his talks. He's done a couple of TED talks and things.
Oh, really?
And it's really worrying. It's anyhow.
I have another friend who shares my interest, our interest. He came over to have lunch with me and also to show me how to use an engine. I've never actually had never really used one.
Yeah.
And he's taught me how to use 2 or 3.
Yes.
Which has its own set of issues in terms of my own need to use special equipment.
Yeah.
But I got on to, I could easily access one called Gemini, which is the Google one.
Yeah.
And you can talk to it in real time. And I had a real-time conversation for about 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I took it to all kinds of subjects.
Wow.
And it spoke highly literately and intelligently and interestingly about any subject that I cared to bring up.
Oh, gosh.
It was incredibly, it was wonderful, but it was frightening.
Yeah, how about that? That's extraordinary. I've never gone that far. I've used ChatGPT in a couple of platforms with in various ways. I haven't had a full-on conversation, but from what you described, that's really interesting. Were you able to sort of bring up? Have you tried having a conversation related to your profession? And
had a conversation with it relating to equipment as to how AI could help people with disabilities.
Yeah, that's great.
And my friend Bruce, who showed me this prior to coming to my place, sent it an email saying that he was going to make this visit and asking for comments from the engine along these lines as to how it might help. I'll send you the email exchange that he had.
Oh, gee, that'd be fascinating. Be great to hear that. I mean, it's also profoundly liberating, and they'll probably have a cure for cancer within the next decade. Yeah. Because they're suggesting that they'll be the algorithms will be so sort of the computations will be so fast that they'll be able to do a full analysis of DNA on any given any person, and then look at traces and potential cancer and growths and so on well before they metastasize.
Yeah.
And then offer people, as long as it's something for everybody and not just for the elite.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's my concern.
It's got enormous power to be helpful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons the growth will be propelled.
Yeah, definitely. And look, the potential in education is just stupendous.
Indeed.
Yeah, for somebody who wants to learn, you could have something that absolutely tailored to your interest and passions. It could be personalised education in a fundamental way, which I think would just be extraordinary.
Its ability to summarise, just for one thing, is incredible. You give it a large document, and it'll literally in a few seconds, it will give you a very, very highly intelligent, well thought out summary of that document.
It's interesting, Frank. For my last set, I might have mentioned this, but for my last set of reports I had to do for work, I got I put in last semester's report into the AI, and I said, can you please paraphrase this in my style of writing?
Yes.
And it did it really well, and it sort of summarised in a slightly different way, and then I doctored that up, and so I was still very active. In fact, the final report was nothing like what AI did, but it was a really good prompt to sort of readdress things. It was a great way to just sort of contain the issues and to redress them. It was incredibly useful. It's
quite remarkable. My son David's doing a qualification in data handling.
Oh, right.
Dealing with data, which is relevant to his work.
Yeah.
And they have a specific algorithm that checks for plagiarising with AI.
Yes.
But so what he does, and what a lot of people no doubt are using, is using an AI engine to write an essay, and to get he's using the ideas that gives him that he thinks are worthwhile.
Yeah.
And obviously just integrates them into his own framework.
Yeah, fair enough. That's
there's no fantastic plagiarism whatsoever.
No, it's not at all.
It's just a question of soaking up the ideas.
Yeah, and as you say, it's a fantastic summariser, and it's a wonderful way to sort of frame and address things and give a clear course of direction and such.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's really good.
Anyway, we've gone on to another track. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. I love the subject. It's really good. I'm not going to stay around for long. I'll play just a few records. I've been sorting out 78s for hours tonight, and I'm sort of over it a bit.
Well, that'll suit me really well.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm a bit over it tonight.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll just play. This one here is a transcript. It's a mood music record, but it's harp. I'll just read the artist's name. It's Tak Shindo, and it's a harp piece called Tea Garden. I presume it's got, this is of Japanese origin. It's a vinyl 78 from the 60s, I imagine. Let's have a listen. Oh, sorry. Wrong fader. Oh, it's a magical sound, isn't it? The Japanese harp. I wonder if it's the koto, if it was a conventional harp.
Sounded very koto-like to me.
It did, yeah.
I don't claim to be an expert on it, but I've heard the koto quite a bit.
Yes.
That's quite different. Not quite different, but subtly different.
Yes, I get that. Yeah, there's a different attack and a different resonance.
Yeah.
It does says Teagarden harp solo. It's so beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, fantastically.
Yeah. Look, I'll on the other side it says Koto improvisation. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look, I'll play this.
I bet it's in a minor key.
I bet it is too. There's 2 tracks on the other side. One's called Teagarden.
Yeah.
It's a flute solo. It's the same as what we just heard, actually. It's a flute solo, and then Koto improvisation. So, play this.
Lovely stuff, isn't it?
It's wonderful. It's beautiful music. Really, really special.
This is vk3jr working vk3sl.
Yeah, testing on 160 and on UHF. And that was an improvisation on the koto and preceded by a flute solo. I was wondering if that was the shakuhachi, but I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
That's got a special...
It does have a very breathy sort of sound.
Yeah, very breathy. I don't think it was breathy. It was more like the Western flute, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might have been too.
You could hear him hitting a few keys sometimes.
Yes, you could. That's true. Yeah. I'd like to... Here we go. Here's a little... It's just a... we have a little bit of shakuhachi, a beautiful instrument. Henry's got one. He was practicing the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had to do an elective at uni, and which involved playing it, so he bought one, and they're very hard to play.
So I understand. Well, there's very few people can play them.
Yeah, I think so. There's only a couple of players in Melbourne who sort of specialise in them.
There's Riley Lee was the big one.
That's right, Riley Lee. You're spot on. Yeah. This is just something that popped up online, but this gives...
Just before you do, just speaking of Henry, how did he enjoy Adelaide?
Oh, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Yeah, he had a really immersive experience, and they played the Strauss.
The Richard Strauss.
Yeah.
I had a report from Holly.
Yeah.
He played magnificently.
Oh, that's lovely. He rose to the occasion. There was one big horn solo, which is it was such a special moment to hear it on the radio, and I'll feature it on future programs. It's just a part of the of the work, but it's so glorious. And the special thing is that he has the horn section are all really close. They all know each other. They always do seasons together, and they socialise all the time together. And there's about 6 of them, and they're really close. And they ended up playing on the radio early in the morning with Ed de Brock.
Well, they had a wonderful... I heard that.
Yeah.
It was magnificent. I think they had about 10 horns.
Yeah, they did.
They sounded superb.
Yeah, it was a good sound. And
oh, my God. I was just gobsmacked. Everyone would have been.
Yeah.
But he did a very good job with them.
Yeah, he was really... he's been... It's his last year. He has to finish this year because he's 23 now. He's doing the tour. He's able to do the tour because I think the tour's open until 25. So he's doing the European tour this year.
Okay.
And I think he's planning to stay on. But the seasons, the summer season and the winter season, the cut-off's 23. So
okay.
So he's always wanted to be the first horn, and he got his go this year. So that was really special for Henry.
Superb.
Yeah, but it was great. We had an evening last night and listened to the recordings and talked about it and just had a good debrief about it all. And
Peter Holly's dad thought it was magnificent too, of course.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, Henry got to know the conductor quite well, and he
sounded really good.
Yeah, Alexander, someone. Yeah, but,
I know. He was really quite inspiring himself.
Yeah,
he spoke on the program as you.
Yes. And so I thought, that's really good that Hen had the courage to hang out with him and ask lots of questions and get to know him. But, fabulous orchestra. They really just...
there's no way you could tell it wasn't an absolutely first-class,
they played
orchestra.
I think there's something very special about young people playing at that level, and
enthusiasm.
Exactly. There's none of the sort of politics or the jaded behaviour. They're really inspired, and I sense that was a real. Yeah, he got an enormous amount out of it. It was really good. He had to drive back the next day after being up to 4 a.m. partying.
Oh, no. God.
Which took its toll, I think. But, he's well and truly recovered. He's practising like mad. He's wanting to... There's a big festival, I think it's the Lucerne Festival.
Yeah.
It's one of the big festivals in Europe. His teachers suggested he do an audition to be involved.
Oh, boy.
So he's only got a week and a half to prepare these pieces.
Oh, no.
But it's all contemporary music, and it's really hard.
I can imagine.
It's, oh my God, it's the sort of stuff that I really admire anyone who has a go at that stuff, because it requires incredible self-discipline to play it and to memorise it and to just address all of that complexity.
Yeah, because a lot of your learning, that wouldn't sort of help you, would it, in a way?
No, in a way you've got to sort of go against your grain, which can be a good thing too. But
not when you've got to learn something in a hurry.
Not when you've got to do it quickly. So he's just working like mad at the moment. But,
good luck. I wish you the very best.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I'll certainly pass that on to Henry. We're very excited for him, because it's a special time, and it's the time where he just has to yield every opportunity and But he's done it with grace, and he's got a wonderful supportive network, and they all really support each other. These horns, when anyone goes for auditions, they're all, although they might be competing, there's a genuine sense of
camaraderie there.
Yeah, but there's a genuine sense of shared purpose and support.
Wonderful.
Those sort of qualities really shine through. It's a good thing. The other day, I think I mentioned we drove back from Invoc to hear Yasu's concert where he played played excerpts from Kreisler's 1925 trip to Australia.
Right.
Fritz Kreisler did a tour of Australia in 1925, and he did a concert at the Assembly Hall, I think it was, and played a program which Yasu, our Japanese violinist friend, gramophone collector and such.
Yes.
You've spoken of it. Mentioned him, and he actually played some of the works and played them very well. He played them with wonderful refinement. It was a very special concert. It was a lovely thing. I've got a personal connection with that concert. I'm only one generation away from my teacher who was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Henry Tuzo, who was my cello teacher at uni, he was born in 1907, and he, as a 20 or 18-year-old, he attended the concert at the Assembly Hall, and in later years, Henry told me that he remembered the concert, and you remember Kreisler being on stage, and there were so many people in attendance that they had all the children on stage with him, and there was just a circle around him performing. No. So but it was very intimate and had a very special quality because he allowed all these kids to go on stage and sit in a circle around him. Wow. And I think that's a beautiful thing to sort of contemplate, really.
And quite the opposite to what a lot of celebrities would do.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot more control. So it's like the football matches where everyone used to run onto the ground after the match.
Exactly.
And you can't do that anymore. But anyhow, Fritz Kreisler. So I'll just play a couple of Kreisler records. But to start off, I'll play a Kreisler piece played by someone else, and then I'll play Kreisler himself playing the same piece.
Oh, wonderful! And
just as a comparison, because both recordings were made almost exactly the same time, and one features Tosca Seidel. The first one I'll play shortly features Tosca Seidel, who is a Russian fiddle player. He was a contemporary of Heifetz. He was a Leopold Auer student, and for some time it was they were unsure whether it was going to be Seidel or Heifetz who was going to really be the big name.
Boy.
Heifetz sort of won in the end, and Seidel became a leader of a lot of the Hollywood orchestras. He went to America and
had a lot of money, no doubt.
Yes. So, but he had the most amazing tone, Tosca Seidel, unbelievable sound. So I've got the 78 of Tosca Seidel in the late 20s and playing this gorgeous piece of Kreisler's. It's Sean Rosmer in the Fair Maid, Rosemary. And so I'll play this first with Mr. Seidel and then follow on with a recording of Fritz Kreisler from about the same time. So here we go. Columbia 78. Okay, there we have vk3sl playing the Schon Rosmarin by Fritz Kreisler. Not that long after the piece was written, in his very characteristic Russian style.
Yes.
So, very different to what we're about to hear, was the composer playing. And I didn't mean
it's quite different from what I'm used to hearing.
Yes, he certainly plays it with a certain...
sort of faster,
it's
anyway.
almost a bit frenetic.
Yeah, I was going to say, right.
Yes.
Emotion got a little bit heavy.
Yeah, anyhow. Let's have a listen to Fritz himself, and a recording from around about the same time. Fritz would have been in his early 60s here, and early 30s. Unmatched elegance, and that was Fritz Kreisler himself playing Schon Rosmarin. Beautiful little piece.
Might be more Australian, wasn't it?
Yes, but so elegant and so just whimsical, and this gentle humour in Viennese. That lovely Viennese lilt. Yeah, well, a couple of crises before we wind up. La Gitana, the guitar, I think it is, or the Gypsy or something. Another one of Fritz's big hits. So we'll tune this one in. And same period. These are early electric recordings of, I think they made about 1931. So Fritz was born in 1875. So, he would have been, he's 50s. So, have a listen. Ole. And that was vk3sl playing his own composition, La Gitana.
Charming, isn't it, really?
Very charming. I love vk3sl's playing. He's a very gentle soul. I think it's very impractical. He's very sort of consumed by the moment.
Yeah.
And very gentle. He's always had a sort of a softness and apparently in personality as well. But he had a wife who wore the trousers.
Oh, right.
Harriet. And she was American. He met her on tour in the 1890s. And she was a dedicated companion, but she ordered him around a lot. And really sort of people who witnessed the relationship said that he would just quietly be henpecked and micromanaged.
Yeah.
So but obviously it worked for them. Anyhow, just a couple more. Next one is Irving Berlin tune. I didn't realise this was here. It's on an Electrochord record, so an overseas release, and I think it's also early electric, and playing Irving Berlin piece Blue Skies. So this will be interesting to hear actually how he interprets a bit of an American classic, and of course he ended up living in America in the last decades of his life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, here we go. I think we're in business. A delicate rendition of Blue Skies by Irving Berlin, by Fritz Kreisler.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very tasteful.
I thought so too. Very spacious. The other side is Dance of the Maidens.
Lovely double stopping.
I know, his double stopping just rings. It's beautiful. He had unusual fingers, very pointed fingertips.
Oh.
And he pioneered the continuous vibrato, but he had so much control over his vibrato speed that there's this carpet, velvet quality to his sound always.
Yeah.
But amazing. Okay, we'll hear the other side of this Electrola disc. It's a German issue from the early 30s. It's, Dance of the Maidens. Go. Beautiful. Fritz Kreisler on the fiddle, feature artist for tonight.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, it is. The Dance of the Maidens. I just found the Kreisler book online, but I might save it for another time and do another program because my energies are low.
Yeah.
And I'll just play one last one to finish the program. But I'd like to read out. I'm pleased I found I used to have a copy of this book. It's written by an author called Lochner. It's a biography of Kreisler, and it's a really good read. You get a real sense of his personality and his manner.
Yeah.
But there's one. He wrote this testimony himself to one of the most terrible things anyone would have to make in any imagined circumstance, and that is he was forced to kill a man during the war because he was fighting in the First World War, and a soldier fell on him. And it was a question of, does he kill the man or does the man kill him?
Yeah, sure.
And it was that moment. And Kreisler had the position of advantage. So
my God.
So he had to do it. And he had this deep philosophical reckoning having had to do that.
He had to do it.
Yeah. And he wrote about it. And he wrote about it so eloquently and it's so moving. Kreisler's account of the event, and he
probably needed to write about it.
I think so, and it's incredible. Now I'm really pleased I found the book, and I will save that because it's it's quite special. but really, really heart-wrenching and very, very deeply personal.
I'd like to hear that sometime.
Yeah, it's worth hearing. And I'm pleased the book's actually available on the Internet Archive, because I lent my copy to someone who disappeared years ago. But look, I'll finish up with Liebeslied, which is Love Sorrow, which is probably the piece that characterises Quasar more than any other.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And we'll wind with this, and I don't think I'll be back from Torquay until after the program tomorrow. So we'll probably won't have missions tomorrow, but I'll let you know, Frank, if we do come back earlier, but I think it's unlikely.
I'll be around anyway, Steve.
Yeah, sure. And then Sunday should be fine. So, yeah, we'll be able to catch up then.
Very good.
Tremendous. All right. Thank you, Frank. Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks,
Always
listeners. Good. Thank you for sharing the love with all this wonderful music. And we'll finish with a little bit more Fritz and more in subsequent weeks, months, years. It's all happening. Cheers for now.
Have a good trip tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Frank.
Cheers to the listener.
And
VK3JR clear and listening.
And vk3sl likewise.